mom is being able to love, understand, always be there for your children, give the best advice, love unconditionally, not only for your children, especially young children, anybody else's child. That's what I think being a mom is about.
Spoke to my in-laws. And my father-in-law said, I'm sorry, leave work, join the business. So there was no way I could pursue my dreams. I got married, and before I knew it, I had two beautiful children, two beautiful little boys who are now 27 and 26, and both overseas, and we miss them terribly. That's what Mother's Day means to me. They both phoned us, one 7 in the morning and one right here while we were sitting. And yes, couldn't pursue my dreams. Then dedicated my whole life to my children.
Wow, well done.
I'm saying being a mom to me is about taking care of my kids, not only my biological kids, but to extend my love to every kid out there.
School, I didn't go as far as I wanted before I got married, because I suppose that was my destiny. And I got married at 19. I had not acquired a degree or an educational qualification that I wanted, but I managed to pursue that.
I will talk to you about a concept called finding your why. And this was originated by an author called Simon Sinek. And finding your why will help you realize that it's never too late for you to start. Often they say that when we're doing things, you know how to do it, you know where and when to do it, but it's the element of why that makes things not succeed. It's like a business, especially for us as women. You will see your friend making dresses today, and you're looking for a business venture of some sort, and you'll think, you know what, I think I can also do it. After all, Mrs. So-and-so next door is doing it, isn't it? Now there's the Avon products, somebody's selling, they've got their catalog everywhere, and you think, I think I can do it as well. And you start doing it, but before you know it, you don't get far. You start baking because somebody's making cakes, you're making themed cakes. Before you know it, you don't go far. Do you know why? That's not your purpose. You need to find that one element in you that really does it for you. There's that one thing. Why I wanted to know what you wanted to do before you became a mom is because that element always stays with you. It sticks with you, it carries on. As you're growing, that little nagging voice is still there somewhere behind you. So you know what you want to do. You leap to the next stage, and that little voice is still there in the back of your head. I would have really wanted to know what you were going to do at the World Bank. Did it have anything to do with finance?
It had to do with finance, yes.
And did you carry on in finance now?
Actually, no. I actually joined the family business.
Okay.
So it was a big business, and it was very taxing. So it did sustain what I wanted to do.
And in the family business, did you look after the financial side of things?
Yes.
You see, so there we go. So she wanted to study finance when she was 18. She got the opportunity. It couldn't happen because the dynamics in life happened in a different way. But even after she became a mom and she had to work in the family business, she was still able to pursue that element of wanting to do the numbers. Do you see how it comes in? You will get the big giants like Apple, Samsung, and all those companies. And what they say when you're doing things, people buy why you do it as opposed to what you do. Holiday Inn, for example, they cannot just say they're about selling rooms or about selling food. They probably want to create an amazing meal experience. That is what makes the difference. So their goal in that element is the amazing meal experience which you're going to get. And your why is not derived, or it's not determined by the factors around you. It's something that you're very, very passionate about. It's something that you're very strong, that you feel very strongly about. So ladies, think about it, even on your way home, even 2 weeks from now, think about that one thing that you couldn't do, but you still want to be able to do it. And I'm sure it's never too late, you can still do it. Even, you know, the other thing that sets us back, especially as women, is self-sabotage. whenever you think you want to do something, the idea comes to your mind. You think, okay, I want to do it. You do the homework, you have everything lined up, and then at the 11th hour you think, I don't think I can do it. Mrs. Fonda is doing it so much better, I don't think I have what it takes. Why do you think you don't have what it takes? Why can't you believe in you? The one thing that you really need to do, especially women, is we need to learn how to believe in ourselves. We need to be our sister's keepers, we need to be able to encourage each other as women. I think men have a much better leverage, because if a man goes to another man and says to him, listen, I've decided I'm going to start this business, half the time he knows exactly what he's going to do, he states it the way he's going to do it, he's probably even calculated the returns he'll get from it. And his friend will say, yes, go for it. I actually think if you pursue that other market, you're actually going to make 80% margins. But you see, the minute I go and present my baking idea to Mama Gaburi, I'm going to get to her and say, do you know what, I'm thinking because I did food and nutrition for 4 years and things are a bit difficult, maybe I can make cakes. I'm not going to her and saying I'm going to make cakes, I've done the research. It's all a maybe, we're never too certain. We have too much doubt. And with anything, for as long as there's doubt, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't really expect the next person to believe in you, can you? And that's the whole idea. It's like walking, when you're walking into a place. I'm sure you've looked at people, even when you're just sitting, and you see someone walking in, you almost know, okay, this person, I think they will walk through the door with ease. This other one is going to struggle a bit. You know the way you carry yourself and you present yourself when you get to a desk, even if it's an inquiry, right? Good morning, how are you? I'm sorry, so I'd like to find out A, B, C, D, F, G. The person behind the desk will treat you differently. But if you get there and you're like, good morning, I wanted to find out how much is the bank limiting today? The bank teller will look at you with one of those, like, hurry up and ask your question, can we move on? It's all about how you carry yourself, it's all about self-confidence. I'd say in the Bible as well, Exodus 3 and 4, when God calls on Moses to deliver Israel. And Moses says to him, who am I to go to Pharaoh? What if they don't believe me? And God looked at him and said, but look at your hand. So we're born with these gifts, but we don't make use of them. We always think they're for the next person, but they're never for you. Why can't it be for you? Why can't you believe in you? And if you can't believe in you, why must I believe in you? That's how it works, isn't it? I will only encourage you because I see you taking a certain path, and I know that is what you want to do. But if you yourself are a bit wishy-washy about the plans you have with your life, it'll be very difficult for me to come your way and encourage you. So I'm hoping that as we're having this conversation, you're thinking in your mind, okay, there's that dream of mine that I didn't pursue. Maybe it's not too late. And the other problem that we always make in finding, that makes us not succeed is, we're too afraid to ask for information with the relevant people. You will go to a friend, let's give a very simple example, visa applications for all these European countries. Your friend probably got declined because they didn't have the right papers. You want to go on holiday. Now you're thinking, I can't get an ask because Titi didn't get hers. But who says your papers are not going to be enough? Who says what you have will not be enough? Your circumstances and Titi's circumstances are different. Why don't you present your story in your way? Food for thought? Yes. Okay. You agree. You can identify. It's like universities, mothers, even schools. You decide that my son is going for Form 1, right? You're best friends with this mom because you've been in the car park together since grade 1, or maybe now there's grade 0. And you've been at the same junior school, as in your kids have been at the same junior school. It's time for high school. You're not going to look for a school that suits your child's needs. You're going to look for a school because the rest of the car park mummies or the other PTA mummies are taking their children to a school. But that's not right. Look at the strengths of your child. So in this case, look at your strengths. What environment will you fit in? And work with that. It's like a dress. There are certain dresses that look absolutely stunning on the next body, but they won't look stunning on yours because your body type is totally different. But then we still want to go and have that dress because it looked so pretty when you wore yours. And I'm going to go and buy exactly the same dress. And when I wear it, and I'll look at myself in the mirror and I'll think, no, but it didn't quite look like that to her. You know, especially when the dress is made for you. You go to the same person who made your friend's dress. She makes the dress in exactly the same manner. And when it's time for you to pick up your dress and fit it, you're now thinking, you didn't do it right. But why must I pay that price? But this is not what I asked for. But you asked for exactly the same dress that Annette was wearing. But your body types are absolutely different. So embrace you. Embrace your strengths, embrace your abilities. Right. Now, I will talk to you about my story before we move on to the next stage. When we started, this said this was about being mom without forgetting I, isn't it? My story is being mom before understanding I, right? Believe it or not, I'm a mother to a second-year undergrad student who is 19, turning 20 in August. I grew up in a small town called Gweru. You all know Gweru. I grew up in Gweru and I got married at a very, sorry about that, something's happening here. I got married at a very young age. And I went through the shock of learning how to be a mother at 19, the shock of learning how to be a wife at 19 or 20, learning how to just be me. You know, growing up is extremely overwhelming without having to look after a man and a child. I think even at 40, looking after a man is very complicated.
Never. Now I was admiring you, but now I was really admiring you.
Oh, don't worry, it gets better in your favor. So there I was, young as can be, learning how, so from my mother's house, I became a Mrs. Somebody, the rings, the certificate, everything with it, and a little child who was preterm. And I had to be in Bulawayo because the doctor that was attending to my son was here and my mom was in Gweru. Now that's even more frightening. For the first time, whilst you're discovering everything you're discovering, there's this little person who also wants your attention. And my mother was in Gweru, but I had an aunt here, which is why I say to you that motherhood does not necessarily mean giving birth to that person. My mother's young sister was here. She was there with me, and she came to the house often just to try and help me look after this little fragile person. But already, I've not done anything for me. I've just left high school. My career has not even begun. My studies haven't even started. So whilst I am in the middle of trying to manage this whole element of breastfeeding, I must also be trying to get a life for myself in terms of my career. But at the same time, there's this man who also expects that he's going to display his lobola. And he wants, he wants a wife at home. So he must get home, he must find dinner at the table. So yes, that happened. 7 years into the marriage, I got divorced. I felt for me, it was extremely overwhelming. I think I just couldn't cope. And I felt we were not compatible. And I'm so glad nobody I was looking at said shame. Because often I don't think it's a shame, I think it's just different stories at different times. It helped me grow as an individual. Whilst I was still in it, I got my qualification in human resources, I did that. Before the family, I wanted to study child psychology at the University of Cape Town. And my mom, who's in the audience, said to me after the baby, you can actually still go to university, and I will look after the child. And just like you, I say to my mom, I can't. I need to be here for my family, I need to be here for my son. And that's what I felt. For me, that was the most ideal thing at that time. So that's how my life happened. I left my son with my mom at 5 months old so that I could go to college in Harare. Thank heavens for S26. My poor gran, who's 80-something now, had to leave her rural home and her business so that she can come and help look after my son. Yes, that's Gogo in the corner. And Gogo made that sacrifice. And now that I'm older, I always look at it and I think, Could Gogo's life have turned out differently if she didn't have to move in 1998 to look after my son? Imagine having a business and now you are being kept. She was used to having her own money, now my mom had to look after her, but she didn't mind. She didn't even think twice the minute she heard I was having a baby. There's some common mistakes which we make as moms, and I'm really hoping those of us who are looking down will look up, because I think these are some of the things which will help us in terms of parenting. So I'm standing here as a child, I'm standing here as a mother, so I get to share both sides. Now imagine my situation, my mom and my granny live together. So I've got whatever you have times 2, the reloaded version. Mind the gap. The first thing that we need to do as moms is we need to be able to differentiate between a secret, something that's a secret, and something that is private. We need to talk to our children. We need to talk to them about things which matter. And often, especially those of us in our culture as Black Africans, we shield our children against certain things which will actually help them map a clearer path on their journey of life. We don't tell them stuff. Simply because we think, no, this is too confidential, I don't think I can tell her. But you know, there's certain things which if we actually shared with our children, the things which are just private but not a secret, it'll help them become better people. You know, you will look at some families, for example, there's a certain element which is passed on from generation to generation. And you keep seeing that element emerging as the generations go by. We don't talk about it because that's just the way it is. And somebody then looks at it maybe 7 generations later, 4 generations later, and they say, wait a minute, but Ukoko had exactly the same problem, and after her, Ukoko had the same problem, and mom had exactly the same problem, and now it's me. So even if they were going to pray about it, even if they were going to change their approach to life, they can't because mom was too busy keeping this thing a secret. Yet it was only private. It was not a secret. And the other thing that we need to stop doing as moms is let's not compare our children. I think I'm fortunate enough to be an only child, so I don't have anybody to be compared against. But I do see my cousins, I do see my other family members. There's always somebody that they're being compared against. Why can't you be like so-and-so? But so-and-so is always studying, why are you playing? Can't you see your cousin is progressing? Can't you see your cousin is doing that? Do you know what? We're born with different gifts. And the gift that I have, the next person is not going to have it. So as my mom, or as a mom, help me nurture that gift. Love me for the person I am. Love your children for the people they are. Love them, embrace whatever gifts they have, and help them nurture that talent. You will find in some very academic families, you'll probably get one person who's not a science person, but they have strengths in arts, for example. But no one will really understand that. I'll give you an example. I have my cousins. The first one in the family is a doctor. That's a 2nd degree. His brother is a lawyer, and the little sister is an accountant. So I think anything with numbers always emerges to be the smarter thing with the way we look at things. I'm an art student. I mean, I could recite Shakespeare from the time I was in form. Like now, I can give you my quotes from O-level, because that's me, right? Now, give me numbers. Yes, I'll probably need a calculator and a couple of days to figure it out, but eventually I'll get there. So my cousin, the lawyer, he didn't write his O-level maths. When everybody else was writing O-level maths, he didn't feel he needed it. Unfortunately, to get into law at the University of Zimbabwe, O-level maths was not mandatory. But my aunt didn't understand the whole element of not having written maths. My mom actually went to the school for some other business and found him wandering about during the maths exam. So that's how people knew he had not gone to write the maths exam. And in his defense, he says that he felt he was going to get A's in everything else, and then there was going to be maths to ruin it. So he didn't want a certificate that had some mediocre mark. He wanted to be remembered for his good grades. So embrace the different qualities that your children come with. Help develop their gifts. You know, there's certain kids who are not gifted academically, but there's other things which they can do. They can play musical instruments, they're good at sport. Let's encourage them. Let's help them become better people, because that is our duty as mothers, isn't it? If you notice, when somebody does wrong, as siblings, those of you who have siblings, you can correct your brother or your sister, but your impact or effect will not be the same as when mom corrects them. I would often hear, I had an uncle, he's late now, he was my granny's favorite, absolutely loved. My uncle could never do wrong, he was always right. The girls always struggled with it. Whatever Kumbu wanted, Kumbu got. And Gogo would never ever say Kumbu had done wrong. And I remember overhearing my mom, sorry, but it's the only example I know. I remember overhearing my mom on the phone, and she was saying to Gogo, but you need to talk to Kumbu because you're his mother. And coming from you as a mother, he will listen to you. And guess what? It worked. I think whenever we speak to our mothers, it works somehow. We can all sit down and have this huge kangaroo court, 20 of us, and tell this one person to stop whatever habit they're doing. They won't stop. But all it'll take is their mother picking up the phone and talking to them, and they'll stop. Things will be totally different. The power of the tongue as moms. You know, when we smack our children, or when they do something wrong, oh, we're quick to say all the horrible things. And our kids grow up with those things. You know, there's certain words which we use, which to you are very easy words, because it doesn't mean much. You're angry during that particular moment, you've smacked them, you've said that word. But this little person grows up with those words in their head, and in whatever they're doing, they carry on like that. And you look at them years later and you don't understand why they're the person they are. But they're only that way because you spoke to them like that. So let's change the way that we have conversation with our kids, even when they're grown up. The kind of language that we use, the words that we choose to use. Let them be words which, even after you're back and you're hugging and everything is good, those words are not damaging to our loved ones. Transferred bitterness. Something happens in the family. In this case, maybe divorce, for example, worst example. And this poor child reminds you so much of your ex-husband. And everything this child is doing, they're always getting into trouble. Because in this child, you're seeing your ex-husband. But what has your son done, or what has your daughter done? Let's not transfer our bitterness to our children. And our children are not an extension of us. Just because I couldn't become a doctor, I shouldn't expect my son to become a doctor. Remember we said we are born with different gifts? Let's embrace that. So when it's time for subject selection or whatever choices they're making in life, support what they want to do. Don't make them do what you could not do. I know that back in the day, being a teacher and being a nurse was the one thing that was really, really good, right? So maybe you couldn't do that, but now you want your child to do it. But why? That's not what they want to do. They want to do something totally different. Allow them to do that. Embrace that side of them. Celebrate each child as they are. The one child who will come home with 9 A's, rejoice. But what about the one who comes with 5 B's or 5 C's? What if that is what they can do? Does this mean we don't celebrate them because the one with 9 A's is being celebrated? Does your role as a mom stop because this one didn't get the 9 A's? No. Let's love our children the same. Let's celebrate them all the time. And also remember that, you know, from the day that you give birth, you go through your 9 months, if you carry to full term, your baby is in you, you're shielding them, you're protecting them. But the minute that you've given birth, they're already walking away from you. Prepare them for the journey where they have to stand alone. Prepare them for that day when it comes and you're not there to hold their hand. When our kids are growing up, they're doing their level best to be the best son or the best daughter. But when they're all grown up, they're now trying very hard to be the best wife and the best husband. That doesn't mean they love you any less. They still really love you, but now they need to be a husband and a daughter, and they really need to rock at that. So they will call you when they can. They will be there for you as a parent. But please allow them to just love their husband or their wife. Love them, don't smother them. Let them be, let them spread their wings. Appreciate the fact that they're their own person. When we took my son to university last year, after buying all his things and he was going into his room, he said to us, I said to him, I'll always check. My mom, on the other hand, still thinks he's quite the baby. But because I think I understand the distance thing somehow. So I said to him, is it okay if we come with you? And he said, it's fine, you can come with me, but I will pack my things the way I want to pack them. So he wants his space, and it's okay for our children to want space. But we don't really seem to understand that. Because we think that if I give my child space, then I'm not being there for them as a mom. That's not it. You're very supportive, you've nurtured them until they've gotten that far, but let them spread their wings. Because what happens when the day when you're not there comes, and this person must stand alone, and they were not prepared for it? And then there's a generation gap, the very sensitive one. Things are happening. Now we've got the millennials who are very opinionated, very. You cannot have a conversation without them talking back. And back in the day, especially as African children, you don't answer back, you sit there quietly, you don't have an opinion. Your parents will say what they're saying to you, your mom will say what she's saying to you, and you sit there quietly and you pay attention. But now, things have changed. They have a view, these little people. They have an opinion. They will look at you and they will tell you that, Mom, no, that's not correct. So we need to be a little bit accommodating. We're not saying they should disrespect us, but we also need to look at the whole element that things have changed, times have changed, which will also affect the whole gender issue. Girl child versus boy child. Times have changed. It's totally different. Our girl child is now that doctor. Now she's that engineer. She's that neurophysicist. She's all those big words. Let's support her. Back in the day, the boy child would be sitting there studying whilst the girl child did whatever she was doing. I, fortunately, when my son is here, I go home for lunch every day. I will find a home-cooked meal he will have made. I get home in the evening and he will have cooked. How lucky am I? So we've spoken about the issues where there's a bit of that turbulence going on. The quick wins, how do we achieve that? We just need to be teachable as parents. Certain things didn't exist during our time. Things which are going on now, we've absolutely no idea. My gran won't change cell phones. My aunt will send her nice pretty phones every so often. She won't change it. And when you show her, no, Gogo, but you're not doing right, she'll say, I was. And she's doing the wrong thing. And you're just trying to help her figure it out much better. But no, she knows how to do it. But all we're simply saying is be teachable. You know, there's a thing or two that we know which didn't exist during the 1930s, which we can teach you. So it's okay to learn. Do little things that speak love. Some of us don't tell our children we love them. Some of us don't hug our children. Hug them. Put your arms around your child for no particular reason. Remind them that you love them. Even just a random text, I love you. Because with some kids you'll hear them say, or some parents they'll say, hey, she sent me a message telling me she loves me. I wonder what she wants. You know, because you know your children, there's certain traits that you know which your children have. I know that if I get a random hey mom is every day, but there's a certain time when it comes. And my response to that hey mom is, are you okay? Because I know that when hey mom comes after a certain time, the next thing is this has gone wrong, or I need this, or you sort of know how it works. Put your arms around them, tell them you love them, do things with your children. Even if they just make a cup of tea for you, say thank you. It doesn't hurt, it's just thank you. I think when somebody serves you with something and you're just sitting, they've saved you that walk as much as you're older. Make sure that there's a balance between body, soul, and mind as a mother. Let's focus on the family, let's do everything we're doing, but balance it out. Body, mind, soul must balance. Don't forget who you are. And the only way that you can do that is by making sure that you're looking after your body, whether it's on the physical fitness side or whatever it is, but you're doing something that concerns your body. Because when we carry babies, our bodies change, right? And it's entirely up to you to let it go and things happen, or you look after your body so that you still feel confident. We all feel good when we dress up. And there's those certain days, especially after winter, when you wear that dress, it's now summer, you've been invited maybe to some function, and you wear your dress and you think, no, I'm not looking good. That's the element of body that we're talking about. And the mind. Take a break. That's necessary. If you've got little kids and somebody else can step in to look after them for you, it's okay. Still on the whole element of the mind, some of us have to be mothers up until our children are 30, 40, or whatever age. You know that my children or my child will not be fine without me. But remember what we said, from the time that they are born, prepare them for the journey where they stand alone. And at times as mothers, I think we are the weaker link. Dad is very assertive, dad is bound to say no. And then they know that when they talk to mom is softer. But when mom is softer, is mom improving my life? Or is mom just prolonging my dependability on her? So that's one element that we need to look at as mothers. And mothers, be approachable. Your children should be able to talk to you. They must feel confident when they come to you. The world is changing, especially those of you who've got the much younger kids. If you're not there, if you're not approachable, they will talk to somebody else who will give them the worst advice. And you will only come into it when it's way, way too late. And the last thing is, remember that none of us are born mothers. You're born of a woman, but you're not born a mother. And when it comes, it's a lesson. Every step is a lesson. From the time they start walking, the time that they start teething, the time when they're pulling things down, when they go to junior school, high school, university, when they have their kids, it's all a lesson. So we will make mistakes. And you know what? It's okay to make mistakes. There's no harm in saying sorry when you do make a mistake. Even if you do something that hurts your child, pick up the phone and say you're sorry. Send a text and say you're sorry. Do something, but just show that, you know what, I actually do acknowledge what I've done. I shouldn't have done it that way. You don't have to say it in all those words. I'm sure I'm sorry will suffice. But bottom line is, continue being moms, but don't forget to be you. That's very, very, very important. So ladies, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Thank you.